Charter Local Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. I'm glad you're with us today, and we're joined by Mike Gardner. He is a councilman in the City of Riverside. I'd like to speak with you about the fiscal health of Riverside. And as we talk about it, I want to think about sister city San Bernardino. So during the recession, Riverside did pretty well. I don't think you had any deficits. The Renaissance was going nicely. Sister city San Bernardino was filing for bankruptcy.
Yes.
So now we're out of the recession. Sister city San Bernardino actually has a small surplus, and Riverside has a deficit. What's going on, sir?
Well, I think a couple of things. One is San Bernardino cut back services dramatically, and
it's hard to
they've had huge savings as they're trying to realign themselves and become fiscally viable again.
Right.
Riverside is being more conservative than we had in the past about how we forecast revenue, and we're moving to a 2-year budget cycle. This is the first time that we have done that. And we're just a little over a month into it now.
Sure.
So we don't really know how well it's going to work. We're optimistic, but because of the more conservative forecasting than previously, we're anticipating fewer revenues.
But to be fair, I mean, to the extent that you do have a deficit, I think it's $10 million. It's a lot of money.
It is.
But it's $1 billion budget.
Yes,
So,
it's not a huge percentage.
Right.
We did reduce our budget by $10.5 million.
Okay.
We made $10.5 million in cuts.
I see.
In
To
the
cover that
current
deficit?
budget, to cover that deficit.
I see.
We also tapped into reserves a little bit. You always, as a municipal company or corporation, you always want to keep at least 15% reserves and preferably more.
I want to ask the reasons behind the deficit, and let me know if I'm right on this. So Riverside, like all cities up and down the state, has been required to cut its water consumption.
Yes.
Which is wonderful since we're in a drought and we need to conserve. But Riverside owns a utility.
It does.
It owns its own water. And the city of Riverside gets some money from its water utility, and it goes into the general fund.
It does. Actually, two ways from the water utility. One is both our water and electric utilities make a contribution, a portion of their overall revenue to the general fund. The other is the city has a utility users tax. So whatever quantity of a utility is sold affects the amount of tax that's collected.
So that begs the question.
Right. A reduction in water sales, the conservation that we all dutifully provided, as we should have, was a double hit to the City of Riverside's general fund.
It's ironic.
The general fund transfer, the share of overall revenue was reduced, and the utility users tax portion was reduced. Altogether, it cost about $3.5 million.
So Riverside is looking for methods to raise revenue.
Yes.
And one method under consideration to be presented to the voters in November focuses upon sales tax. Now, at the end of the year, I figured this out today, the entire state will see a half-cent sales tax give back. Prop 30 is expiring, at least that portion. So the sales tax statewide will go down by a half a cent.
Right.
Prop 30 is being extended for millionaires, but that's another conversation. Riverside, therefore, or as a result, or not as a result, is looking to increase its city sales tax by 1 penny.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
The thought is not only do we have a projected differential between revenue and absolutely required expenses for the next 4 years, we would turn positive probably in the 5th year.
Okay.
But for many years, like the state, the county, all the surrounding cities, Riverside has not taken care of its roads, its sidewalks, its street trees as well as we would like to. That was additional things. We built things, we didn't maintain the old ones, and we didn't budget money to take care of that which we built.
Right. So the voters are going to be asked to increase sales tax.
Yes.
Early indications are the voters will be supportive. A poll was released recently which indicated that Riverside residents are in favor of the 1 cent sales tax measure by a margin of 64%.
Yes.
You need 50 plus 1 because it's a general tax, so that's positive. but I want to posit this to you. In addition to this 1 cent sales tax increase, on the ballot for residents of Riverside City will be, for the most of the residents, a bond by Riverside Unified School District.
Yes.
Not every sliver of Riverside, but most of Riverside.
Yeah, big portion.
Also on the ballot will be that Prop 30 millionaires tax extension,
Yes.
a statewide school bond,
Yep.
an increase in the sales tax, I guess, the increase in the tax for cigarettes and vaping.
Yes.
So those are 5 revenue measures. And I'm wondering if you could give me a sense of how you think Riversiders will look at having 5 revenue measures on the ballot.
The poll actually addressed the simultaneous appearance of the school bond with the 1 cent sales tax.
I'm aware of that, yes.
And it still stayed about 63% positive. And there were some other negative things thrown in.
Right.
And that's as
As
low
a way,
as it went.
Right, yeah, kind of push questions,
right,
but not in a negative
right.
sense.
But it is arguments that a person might raise to say, let's not do this, at least now.
Right.
And it still stayed at about 63%. So, that seemed positive. I'm not sure about other voters. For me, I don't look at the tax increase on tobacco products
Right.
as much as a revenue generator as a health measure to try to drive people away from using tobacco products.
And the reality
it does
is-
generate
right.
some money. There's no question. That's how First Five is funded, among other things.
It's a sin tax, as they call
Right.
it, and it doesn't apply to everyone. And I wish I could say the millionaire's tax would apply to me and most Riversiders, but unlikely that it will. And so that extension of the millionaire's tax won't apply to most people. Right. And the school bond, different formula, only applies to property tax
And they did
property
their
owners.
own poll, and it
Right.
was quite positive, as I understand it.
So let us presume passage. What will happen with the money? Do we know? I know we don't know specifically because it's a general tax.
Yes.
But what are the dreams?
The kinds of things that have been discussed at the council, should it pass, include restoring some of the immediate budget cuts that have been made. We are short police officers. We'd like to add at least 50 new police officers. We're at around 360 police officers. We ought to be at well over 400.
Okay.
Perhaps 450. So there's a piece. We took a fire rescue squad out of service for at least 1 year. Like to restore that right away. And then we'd like to try to start addressing some of the things that have been deferred for decades. The street maintenance, sidewalks.
Let me ask you, if I may. I've spoken with another council member, a few of you, and one of them indicated to me, while he supports putting the measure on the ballot, he's not sure if he's going to support or oppose the measure.
Yes.
Have you decided whether you're going to support or oppose the measure?
I expect that I will vote for it
Why?
because I think it is to the overall benefit of Riverside citizens. Riverside's costs really have not gone up as much as most other governmental entities' costs. And government costs are not static. Government buys things just as people do or companies do.
I know it's early, but you're Ward 1, is that right?
Yes.
What are Ward 1 residents saying about this?
I've not had a huge amount of feedback. The people that I've talked to individually, I think by and large are supportive. I made a little presentation on a variety of things to a Chamber of Commerce group, the small business side, this past week, and they mentioned that probably 80% said, yes, that makes sense.
Wow.
And 20% said, no taxes, no
but
way, no how,
80%,
never.
I mean, please. Yeah, his name is Mike Gardner. He is a councilman in the city of Riverside. Exciting measures on the ballot throughout the state and in Riverside this fall. I'm Brad Pomerance, Local Edition.